Furiosa! We've come too far. Furiosa was magnificent. And you took it all. Whatever you have to do. However long it takes. Promise you'll find your way home.
Furiosa. A Mad Max Saga is a film that dives back into the wasteland of George Miller's universe, expanding one of the most fascinating characters ever introduced in the Mad Max series. Long before we met her as the battle-hardened Imperator Furiosa in Fury Road, this saga takes us into the brutal shaping of her identity, her struggles, and her survival against impossible odds. It's a story set in the lawless post-apocalyptic desert where warlords, tribes, and scavengers all fight for dominance over scarce resources. At its heart, this film is not just about explosions, dust, and fire. It is about Furiosa's soul, the pain that molded her, and the resilience that transformed her into the warrior we already know she would become. The movie brings back that signature style of intensity and wild spectacle that the Mad Max franchise is known for. But it also deepens the lore, turning the wasteland into a theater of both chaos and destiny. At the center of the film, Furiosa is portrayed by Anya Taylor-Joy, who steps into the role made famous by Charlize Theron. Taking on such an iconic role is no small task, but Anya Taylor-Joy brings a raw energy that fits perfectly with Furiosa's journey from innocence to ferocity. Alongside her, Chris Hemsworth delivers a performance that's both surprising and chilling, embodying a menacing warlord figure who becomes a pivotal force in Furiosa's transformation. The cast also includes rising talents and seasoned performers who fill out the rugged landscape with characters as wild and dangerous as the desert itself. Each member of the cast adds depth to this saga, crafting a story that doesn't just explode on the screen, but lingers with viewers as an emotional and visceral experience. The film's story begins in the Green Place, the lush land of Furiosa's childhood, a paradise hidden in a broken world. This place, rich with vegetation and flowing water, is a symbol of hope and purity, a stark contrast to the wastelands beyond. But as with all beauty in this ruined world, it cannot last. Furiosa is torn away from her home, captured by a marauding horde, and thrust into a reality defined by brutality. The Green Place becomes not only her memory, but her driving motivation, a vision of what once was and what could be again if she survives long enough to reclaim it. The loss of her homeland is the wound that defines her, and it is through that wound that she begins to evolve from child to survivor. The wasteland itself is more than a backdrop. It is a living, breathing entity, a constant antagonist. Dust storms rip across the barren sands, mutated gangs roam on monstrous vehicles, and fuel and water are the only currencies worth dying for. Within this unforgiving landscape, Furiosa finds herself caught between rival factions. On one side, the cruel warlord Dementis, played with magnetic energy by Chris Hemsworth, and on the other, the looming empire of Immortan Joe, whose presence continues to haunt this world even in the shadows of power struggles. Furiosa becomes a pawn in their battle, traded, tested, and ultimately tempered in fire. Each brutal choice she faces becomes another step in her transformation into the iron-willed warrior we later encounter in Fury Road. One of the most compelling aspects of the film is how it unpacks the psychology of Furiosa. In Fury Road, she was already a fully formed warrior, defined by her strength and command. But in this saga, we see her fragility, her anger, and her grief. We watch how her rage is born from loss, how her cunning is sharpened by necessity, and how her defiance becomes the only weapon left when all others fail. The film isn't afraid to slow down in moments, showing us her silent resilience, her observations of cruelty, and her desperate clinging to the memory of the Green Place. These quieter moments make the explosive action sequences hit even harder, because we understand what is at stake in her soul. Of course, the action in Furiosa is as breathtaking as fans would expect. George Miller once again orchestrates vehicular carnage on a scale no other filmmaker dares to match. Massive convoys thunder across deserts, engines roar like beasts, and combat unfolds on moving machines as though gravity has been abandoned. Each chase is choreographed with balletic chaos. Each explosion feels earned, and the dust-soaked battles become a spectacle of metal and flesh colliding. But unlike action that is simply spectacle, here every sequence pushes Furiosa further along her journey. Every fight is not just survival but transformation, as she learns what it means to resist, to strike back, and eventually to command. The relationship between Furiosa and Dementis becomes one of the film's central threads. Dementis is not just a warlord, he is a manipulator, a showman, a figure who thrives on control and spectacle. His charisma makes him dangerous, but his cruelty makes him unforgettable. For Furiosa, being under his shadow is both torment and training. She learns how leaders rise and fall, how brutality can be disguised as charm, and how survival sometimes requires playing the long game. In contrast, the looming figure of Immortan Joe represents another kind of tyranny, less flamboyant but more enduring, a system of oppression built on fear and deprivation. Between these two powers, Furiosa begins to carve out her own sense of identity, refusing to be fully consumed by either force. The cast performances elevate this story even further. Anya Taylor-Joy plays Furiosa with a balance of quiet intensity and explosive ferocity, making her believable both as a vulnerable child of the Green Place and as the hardened warrior she is destined to become. Chris Hemsworth delivers one of his most unique performances, far from his heroic persona, embracing a darkly charismatic villain who is as unpredictable as the wasteland itself. Supporting performances fill out the brutal world with memorable faces, from hardened raiders to desperate survivors, all contributing to the tapestry of a society forever teetering on the brink of collapse. Cinematically, the film is breathtaking. The desert landscapes stretch endlessly, painted with golden dust and blood-red skis. Vehicles are once again monstrous works of art, crafted from scraps of the old world into terrifying machines of war. The cinematography captures not just the chaos of battle, but also the haunting beauty of emptiness, showing us why this wasteland is both terrifying and strangely captivating. The use of practical effects once again grounds the action in reality, making every crash, every explosion, every scream of engines feel visceral and authentic. This commitment to realism is what makes George Miller's vision stand out in an age of digital spectacle. The music drives the story forward with pounding rhythms and haunting melodies. Percussion-heavy scores echo the thunder of engines, while softer notes remind us of the Green Place and the humanity buried within Furiosa. The sound design ensures that audiences are immersed, feeling the roar of machinery, the crackle of flames, and the whispers of memories long gone. Together, the audio and visual design create an overwhelming sensory experience, immersing viewers in the nightmare and the beauty of this saga. As the story unfolds, we see Furiosa tested again and again. She endures capture, loss, betrayal, and battle. She learns when to hide, when to fight, and when to wait for her moment. Each scar becomes a lesson, each escape a declaration that she cannot be broken. By the time the film moves toward its climax, the Furiosa we see is no longer the child stolen from paradise, but the warrior who will one day defy Immortan Joe himself. Her transformation is both tragic and inspiring, a reminder that in a broken world, survival sometimes requires becoming something greater than the world allows. The release of Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, arrives as one of the most anticipated cinematic events of its year. Following the massive success of Fury Road, expectations were sky-high, but this film does not aim to simply replicate what came before. Instead, it enriches the mythos, offering a deeper exploration into a beloved character while delivering the jaw-dropping action that fans crave. Its release date marks it as a centerpiece of blockbuster cinema, a film meant to be experienced on the largest screen possible, where the roar of engines and the blaze of fire can be felt in your chest. The trailer for the film teased the scale of its ambition. It showcased a younger Furiosa, flashes of her capture, glimpses of the monstrous vehicles, and the terrifying charisma of Chris Hemsworth's Dementis. Explosive set pieces were revealed in quick cuts, engines soaring into the sky, warriors leaping from machine to machine, all underscored by the pounding intensity of a score that promised chaos. But within the explosions, the trailer also highlighted the emotional core. the longing for the green place, the defiance in Furiosa's eyes, the hint that this was not just another wasteland battle, but a story of destiny. It set the tone perfectly, balancing hype with mystery, leaving audiences desperate to see how it all unfolds. As a whole, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is not just another entry in the Mad Max series. It is an expansion of the mythology, a story that deepens the lore while delivering the spectacle that has defined this franchise for decades. It is about fire and steel, about loss and revenge, about the way one soul can carry the memory of paradise through a world of ruin. It gives us more than action. It gives us an understanding of what it costs to survive, what it takes to resist, and how legends are forged not in ease but in unrelenting struggle. For fans of Fury Road, it is both a prequel and a revelation. For newcomers, it is an invitation into a world unlike any other. Furiosa's saga is ultimately a story of transformation. The girl taken from her home Bico,